New York, a dazzling evening. Hundreds of elite guests sit in the grand ballroom of the St. Regis Hotel, crystal chandeliers casting a golden glow over designer gowns and tailored suits. All eyes are on the moment they've been waiting for. Ryan Sinclair, young billionaire and CEO of Sinclair Enterprises, is about to marry Karen Langley, a woman from one of the most prestigious families in the city. Ryan has everything: wealth, power, status, and tonight he's supposed to secure the perfect marriage. But despite his composed exterior, something deep inside him feels off. Meanwhile, Tegan Carter, an event planner, moves efficiently behind the scenes, making sure every last detail is flawless. She doesn't care for the grand romances of the rich and powerful, unaware that tonight will change her life forever. But just when Ryan thought he had it all, fate had other plans. The string quartet begins to play the wedding march. Guests rise to their feet, eyes fixed on the grand double doors where the bride is set to make her entrance. Ryan Sinclair stands at the altar, his custom-tailored tuxedo fitting him to perfection. At 35, he has built an empire from nothing. Sinclair Enterprises has made him one of the most powerful men in New York, and tonight is supposed to be the crowning moment of his personal life. "You okay?" Jason Carter, his best friend and best man, whispers. Ryan nods, though a strange unease churns in his stomach. He and Karen Langley have been together for 2 years. She's beautiful, sophisticated, and from the right family. Their match is perfect, at least on paper. The double doors open, but instead of Karen in her wedding gown, her father, Henry Langley, steps inside alone, his face pale and troubled. Ryan's chest tightens. Something is wrong. Henry approaches quickly, his voice low. "Karen wants to see you now." Whispers ripple through the crowd as Ryan steps away from the altar, following Henry down the hall to the bridal suite. When he opens the door, Karen stands by the window, her flawless makeup streaked with tears. "What's going on?" Ryan asks, his voice tense. She won't meet his eyes. "I can't do this." Ryan frowns. "Can't do what?" "If you're nervous, that's normal." Karen takes a shaky breath before finally looking at him. "No, Ryan, I can't marry you." The words hit him like a physical blow. "What are you talking about? There are 300 people out there." "I know," Karen twists the 5-carat engagement ring on her finger, "but I'd rather hurt you now than trap us both in a marriage that isn't right." Ryan's mind races. Is there someone else? Her silence is all the answer he needs. "Who?" Ryan demands, pain and anger tightening his throat. "It doesn't matter," she says softly, slipping the ring from her finger and setting it on the dressing table. "What matters is that I can't pretend anymore." She moves past him, pausing at the door. "I'm truly sorry, Ryan. You deserve someone who loves you completely." And then she's gone, leaving Ryan alone with the crushing weight of public humiliation and private heartbreak. At the far end of the ballroom, Tegan Carter moved swiftly between tables, ensuring everything was in order. She had worked in event planning for 5 years and had seen countless extravagant weddings, but never a disaster quite like this. A hushed murmur spread through the crowd as Henry Langley stepped onto the stage, clearing his throat. "I regret to inform you, the wedding will not be taking place today." Gasps filled the room. Some guests whispered behind gloved hands, while others exchanged knowing glances. The media, already present, snapped photos furiously. "Poor guy," Tegan muttered as she observed the chaos. "Karen left him at the altar," Lena, a fellow event assistant, whispered. Tegan winced. In all her years organizing weddings, she had never witnessed a bride walk away at the last minute, especially not in front of hundreds of guests. She pushed forward, focusing on her job, directing the staff to pack up the untouched meals, ensuring the champagne was accounted for. But as she passed a small side room near the ballroom, she heard a noise, a deep, heavy sigh, almost like a broken breath. Hesitating, she gently pushed open the door. Inside, Ryan Sinclair sat slumped in a chair, his bow tie undone, a glass of whiskey in his hand. The powerful, composed businessman the media always portrayed looked nothing like the man in front of her now. He was utterly devastated. Tegan knew she should leave, respect his privacy, but something in his expression made her pause. "Mr. Sinclair," she said softly, Would you like me to bring you anything? Ryan looked up, as if noticing her for the first time. Unless you can turn back time, I don't think there's anything anyone can do for me today. He attempted a smile, but it failed miserably. Tegan sighed. I'm sorry about what happened. Ryan let out a bitter laugh. Are you? I'm sure plenty of people are enjoying this, watching Ryan Sinclair finally fall. No one enjoys your pain, Tegan replied gently. And you don't have to pretend to be strong. Not right now. Ryan stared at her, and for the first time all evening, the carefully constructed wall around him seemed to crack. I don't even know what happened, he admitted, his voice rough. Everything was perfect, or at least I thought it was. Tegan hesitated, then took a seat across from him, offering no forced words of comfort, only quiet understanding. Sometimes, what looks perfect on paper isn't perfect in reality. Ryan studied her. She wasn't like the people he usually interacted with. She didn't seem impressed by his wealth or status. She was simply a stranger, offering kindness without expectation. For the first time that day, Ryan didn't feel completely alone. A few days later, Ryan Sinclair found Tegan Carter's business card, the woman who had sat quietly with him that night. On impulse, he decided to call her. I just wanted to say, thank you, Ryan said, his voice a little hesitant. You didn't have to stay that night, but you did. Tegan chuckled softly over the phone. I just did what anyone would do. No, you did more than that. Their conversation was brief, but for the first time since the wedding disaster, Ryan felt a strange sense of ease. He didn't know why, but Tegan had a calming presence he hadn't experienced before. At first, it was just a thank you text, then an invitation for coffee. Soon, they found themselves talking regularly. With Tegan, Ryan felt something different. She wasn't drawn to his wealth or power, she was just herself. Tegan told Ryan about her life, her small apartment in Brooklyn, her night classes to finish her teaching degree, and her beloved niece and nephew. Why teaching? Ryan asked one evening as they sat on a park bench. Because I believe education can change a child's life, Tegan smiled, her eyes lighting up. Do you know how incredible it feels to help a kid read a full sentence for the first time? Ryan had never thought about it that way before, but hearing her speak, he realized there was something genuine and captivating about her. With Karen, everything had been surface level, but with Tegan, it was about things that truly mattered. For the first time in years, Ryan found himself wanting to chase something that had nothing to do with money or success. And that something might just be Tegan. Coffee dates turned into dinners, then long evening walks through the park. Every moment together, Ryan realized Tegan was unlike anyone he had ever known. With her, he didn't have to wear a mask. He could just be himself. One late evening, as they sat on the grass watching the city lights, Ryan finally spoke. Tegan, I've never met anyone like you. She turned to him with a soft smile. I hope that's a good thing. Ryan took a deep breath. I don't want to pretend anymore. I like you, Tegan, not because you're different from my world, but because you make me want to be a better version of myself. Tegan's heart pounded as she held his gaze. Are you saying? Ryan gently took her hand. Be my girlfriend? She laughed softly, intertwining her fingers with his. Ryan, I think I like you too. For the first time in a long while, Ryan felt truly happy. Tegan never imagined love could happen so unexpectedly. With Ryan, she felt free, cherished, and most importantly, she felt like herself. But that happiness didn't last long before the harsh reality of his world came crashing down. That morning, as Tegan arrived at work, Lena rushed toward her, phone in hand. Have you seen the news? Lena asked, breathless. Tegan frowned. No, why? Lena turned the screen toward her. Front page of a gossip site. From the altar to a new love, Ryan Sinclair dating event planner. Below the headline was a photo of Ryan and Tegan at a coffee shop last week, his hand brushing gently against hers. Tegan felt her stomach drop. The comments were brutal. So this is Ryan's rebound? Yikes. She's clearly just using him. From billionaire fiancé to an event planner? That's a downgrade. Tegan swallowed hard, her chest tightening. It wasn't just strangers talking. It was her coworkers, her classmates, even her neighbors whispering behind her back. The judgment felt suffocating, like the walls were closing in on her. Was this what her life would be like if she stayed with Ryan? Her phone rang. "Ryan." "Tegan, I'm so sorry," he said the moment she answered. "I didn't think this would blow up so fast." "I know this is part of your world," she said slowly, "but I don't know if I can get used to it." Ryan gripped his phone tighter. "You don't have to. We'll get through this together." But Tegan wasn't sure if love alone was enough to fight against the world. 3 days after the article about Ryan and Tegan went viral, Karen Langley showed up at Tegan Carter's doorstep. That evening, as Tegan returned to her small Brooklyn apartment, the doorbell rang. When she opened it, Karen Langley, poised, elegant, and exuding an air of superiority, stood there with a sharp gaze. "We need to talk," Karen said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Tegan crossed her arms. "I don't think we have anything to say to each other." Karen looked around the modest apartment before pulling out a check and setting it on the table. $3 million. Tegan's brows furrowed. "What is this?" Karen gave a cool smile. "An opportunity, Tegan. A chance for you to walk away before this gets ugly." Tegan stared at the check. "You really think I'm with him for money?" Karen let out a soft, patronizing laugh. "Women like you always are. Maybe you think you're different, but sooner or later Ryan will realize you don't belong in his world." Tegan's fists clenched. "And if I say no?" Karen leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Then you better prepare yourself, sweetheart. The press will rip you apart. Your colleagues will turn on you. Your little teaching career, it'll be over before it even starts. One phone call and every school in the city will know you're nothing more than a gold digger." Tegan took the check, then tore it to shreds right in front of Karen. "Keep your money. I don't want it." Karen's expression darkened, but she merely shrugged. "Don't say I didn't warn you." She walked out, leaving behind an air of cold finality. Tegan knew she had turned down the easy way out, but she also knew the real battle had just begun. Less than 24 hours later, the news exploded again. Karen Langley appeared on live television, eyes red-rimmed, as if still heartbroken. "I tried everything to make it work," she said, voice trembling. "But Ryan was too distant, too obsessed with work. I couldn't stay." The host nodded sympathetically. "So, he never made time for you?" "Exactly." Karen sighed dramatically. "And now, weeks after I left, he's already moved on." Tegan's heart clenched. Karen had just painted her as a cheap replacement. Hours later, Ryan stormed into Tegan's apartment. "She's lying." But Tegan wasn't sure. Was love enough to fight against the world? After Karen's interview aired, things only got worse. The public perception of Tegan was now filled with doubt. No matter where she went, she could feel the judgmental stares. Even her coworkers started looking at her differently. During her night class, she overheard a student whispering to a friend, "That's the girl from the article. She must be using him." Tegan pretended not to hear, but deep down, it hurt. Ryan wasn't going to let this stand. That evening, he showed up at her apartment. "Tegan, I'm holding a press conference. I'm setting the record straight and defending you." Tegan looked at him, worry in her eyes. "Ryan, if you do this, they won't leave you alone." "I don't care," Ryan said firmly. "I won't let Karen or anyone else control this narrative anymore." The next day, Ryan stood before the media. For the first time, he addressed their relationship publicly. "The recent rumors are completely false," he stated confidently. "Tegan Carter is not a replacement. She is an incredible woman, and I'm proud to have her in my life." Reporters fired off questions. "What about Karen Langley's accusations?" Ryan smirked slightly. "Karen is entitled to tell her story however she wants, but I have the right to tell the truth. And the truth is, I have never been happier than I am with Tegan." The news of the press conference spread quickly. Public opinion began to shift, and people started seeing things differently. That night, Tegan received messages from some colleagues. "I misjudged you, hope you're doing okay." She stared at her phone, emotions overwhelming her. When Ryan arrived at her door, she didn't say a word. She simply threw her arms around him. "Thank you for fighting for me," she whispered. Ryan held her tightly. "For you, I'd fight the whole world." After Ryan's press conference, the public slowly changed their perception. The negative rumors faded, replaced by admiration for a man who was willing to fight for his love. But to Ryan, it was never about his reputation. It was always about Tegan, the woman he loved more than anything. Even though things had settled down, Tegan still had doubts. One evening, as they sat on her balcony, she turned to him and said, "Ryan, even if everything seems fine now, your world still feels too far from mine. I don't want to live a life where I always have to fight to prove that I belong." Ryan was silent for a moment. Then he took her hand. "Tegan, you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to change to fit into my world. Because I don't want that world if you're not in it." She looked at him, heart pounding. "Are you saying—" Ryan took a deep breath, then stood up, pulling her with him. Under the soft glow of city lights, he dropped to one knee and pulled out a small velvet box. Tegan gasped, tears instantly welling up in her eyes. "I used to think my life had to follow a perfect plan," Ryan said, his voice full of emotion. "But when I met you, I realized none of it mattered without you by my side. You taught me how to love with my whole heart, how to put love above success. Tegan Carter, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Tegan's face, but this time they were tears of joy. She wasn't afraid of their differences anymore, nor did she care about the opinions of the world. Because in this moment, it was just her and Ryan, and a love that had overcome everything. She nodded, her voice shaking. Yes, I will." Ryan chuckled softly, sliding the ring onto her finger before pulling her into his arms. They kissed under the night sky, with the city sparkling around them, a moment frozen in time, one they would never forget. A year later, at a small seaside wedding, Tegan walked down an aisle lined with white flowers, her eyes locked onto Ryan, the man who had become her world, not for status, not for money, but because they were meant to be. As they exchanged vows, Ryan whispered, "Thank you for choosing to stay." Tegan smiled. "Thank you for fighting for us." They kissed to the sound of waves crashing and applause from their friends and family. And so their love story, a love worth fighting for, a love that never needed proving, a love written in the stars, began its happiest chapter yet.